Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be about paper gains versus realized gains. So what I mean by that is in that day and age that we see now with Collectr and Shiny and apps like that, everyone can put in their collection and they can see it perform, go up and down and that sort of stuff. So you're putting figures to the collection, you can see it in real time. So what that does is it makes everyone feel extremely wealthy in times like these because everything is sort of going up. You can see the percentage gains and how much your collection's going up, but those aren't realized gains. And what I mean by that is we have to actually sell in order to realize those gains and use that money for, the stuff we actually want to buy. So if your intention is to invest in the hobby and you always bought something in the hopes that you could sell it for more later, well, this video is definitely for you. And if you do have friends that sort of do the same thing, you're all on Collectr, well, make sure you share it to them as well, because this could actually be very, very helpful to them and yourself. So I'm going to go over what I use. I'm going to go over a chart that I've gone over before on this channel. And just for the people that haven't watched me, because it's been a while since I have made a video, well, I'll go over everything again so you understand where I'm coming from. Yeah, but make sure you watch to the end, because this information is extremely important. There's no one else in the world showing you, what I do in the fashion I do. So again, this is very, very helpful. It's helped me be a successful business owner in the industry and a successful investor. So this is exactly what I've used, and I want to share it with everyone. So hopefully help as many people as possible. So let's get right into it. So here you have the land cycle chart, and why I use this is it's been very reliable over the past couple of 100 years in getting cycles right. So market up, down, and everything in between. So just to go over this quickly, we have the start of the cycle, which is a recovery phase after the crash. And then we have this mid-cycle slowdown, which in this case was the C19 thing that we had 4 or 5 years ago now. And I've just outlaid some Pokemon set releases on top of this cycle. I've also put this chart, which is different emotions people feel at certain points in the cycle. Again, very helpful. And the last bit of the puzzle here is the Fed funding rate for the US. Now, I am from Australia, but I watch the US very closely as they are the biggest market. And when things go up and down in America, well, usually the rest follow. So this is what I follow as well. So just bear with me here. I'll try to explain this the best I can. And I'll give you a little background about me. So I got back into Pokemon, well, collected as a kid. I got back in around this era here. I was buying black and white and XY booster boxes at the time. And, I did see at the time, like, it wasn't as prevalent as it is today, and there was definitely a lot less participants. But, I love that nostalgic feeling of collecting again, and I also seen that there was an opportunity to invest and make money. So I did buy a lot of stuff here, and when I say a lot, back then I didn't have the money I have today. So I spent around $20,000, $30,000 back here. I was buying, as I said before, black and white XY boxes. It felt really good. It's the same situation as today at a smaller scale. All that stuff went up. Selling was a lot harder back here. It did take a lot longer. There wasn't as many participants, as I said, or speculators, as I like to call them. But yeah, I ended up throwing in the towel. I got over the hobby a bit. For whatever reason, back then I just wasn't interested anymore. And I did actually make out with about $25,000 profit back here. So I did do okay. But in hindsight, I sold like legendary treasures and, other black and white sets for around $1,000 back here. Flash Fire only for about $400-$500. So I thought I was a genius at the time. But if I did hold them through here, I would have done a lot better. But again, this is you live and you learn. So this is what I call capitulation. I sold all of it. I spat the dummy. I got out. And then I found myself back in around this era here. So again, I did keep a little bit of stuff like my collection and that sort of stuff. There was stuff I did like that I held on to throughout here. But again, let's focus on COVID now, because that's probably where a lot of people sort of did come back into the hobby again, or for the first time. We had the Logan Paul sort of hype here. That's why I've got good old Logan here. 8.1 million views when I made this post about him opening the first edition base box. Huge spotlight on the hobby. Again, focusing on the cycle, we had this downturn, which was C19, which is the big uncertain crash with a quick recovery, and then we've seen an explosion in the trading card scene and crazy prices, particularly in vintage. Hence why this video was such an important or played an important role at the time. So as this chart shows, and again, this is just like direction. So we had the big run up, the big run up in COVID, and I'll go over some cards that felt this effect and where they are today a bit later. And then we had the inevitable correction, and then we had the inevitable recovery, and now we see ourselves in what this is called the winner's curse, where we have the most speculative part of the cycle, which goes for about 18.5 years, let's say, on average. So this whole cycle is usually about that time, most speculative time that we're in now, and this is the type of feelings that we feel at different stages in the cycle, hence why I've overlaid that. And again, I'll just go over this quickly here. So we have the Fed funding rate. Why I want to put this here is every time that we drop interest rates here, we have a recession, which is this grey area here. So run up again. This was dot-com bubble. This was GFC, global financial crisis. Again, drop rates, recession, recovery. Okay, we're okay now. We're going to raise rates again. No, we need to drop rates again because of stimulate the economy again. We need people to spend more money, and that's the C19 recession. And then today we find ourselves in the exact same spot with lowering rates again. So we're in a rate cut cycle, which again, history shows. This is my opinion. This is just the facts that I like to point out. Good chance that we're going to see this grey box appear again sometime in the next year or two. So that's what I want to point out with this. We're going to go on to cards next. And I want to start with the Charizard Holo from 1999, base set unlimited. Again, I'm going to point out two important metrics here. One is population, PSA 9, 8,350. Okay, I'm going to focus on PSA 9 for the purpose of this video. We see not much happening here, not much happening. We get the COVID run up, mass stimulus, government money flying everywhere. And we had this huge run up on vintage, in particular this card. So again, look at the prices here. This is in USD. We peaked around $6,000 USD. Don't worry about these ones; they're just a bit of bullshit. So we don't worry about these spikes up here. We're just focusing on this data that is in line. So again, these are the prices I got to. If you bought this card anywhere here and you didn't sell, well, you're still underwater. And again, this is the most iconic, popular card in Pokemon. Everyone knows the base set Charizard. And still to this day, in the most extreme speculative conditions, this card has not recovered anywhere near these prices. So this is why it's important to understand this data. So let's go over another card now. So I picked Pikachu because it's very popular at the moment. A lot of Pikachu cards are taking off and are in absolutely silly territory. So this is the one from Vivid Voltage. This was the chase of Vivid Voltage. This set was a victim of mass printing. Again, similar times. Pokemon, they take longer to react when they get the data. So they see people coming in. They say we need more product, or Distro wants more, whatever it is. They order more. By the time it hits, orders from printers to shelves, it's about, let's say 9 months. So they reprinted this set, but the economy wasn't having any of it. All the speculation was over, and again, we had way more supply than participants. In fact, dropping this chase card and leaving a very, very bad taste in those who bought up here. So we see card again going up to levels of, let's say, $1,800, some $2,000 USD in a PSA 10. And anyone that bought here, anyone that bought here, anyone that bought here, so this is a 2-year span, you're still underwater. So we're talking about Pikachu, one of the most iconic Pokemon in Pokemon history. The chase card at the time, again, people thought it was the best thing since sliced bread up here. Now no one really cares about the Rainbow Pikachu, and still to this day, in the most speculative conditions, still no one cares. And again, the metric population, 10,500 people. So that means more sellers when it comes down to this point of the market, when speculators are trying to get out because the price is going down. So next one, Charizard again, picked another popular Pokemon, a bit more modern. We're talking Champion's Path here. Again, at the time, for those of you who weren't there, this was the first time Pokemon mass-printed reprinted ETBs. So usually it was a one and done thing. Pokemon decided to reprint Champion's Path not long after release. So these hit about 170, 180 AUD at the time of release. And then the reprint come, everyone panicked, and again, prices come back down to very low levels, and did for a long time, and this card tanked with it. So again, we're going to see a population, 16,500. Again, very, very important number there. And same thing, we peaked around 2,000, and then just down, leaves a very, very negative sentiment. This card has not recovered. You could have picked it up for $200 in the PSA 10, which is a retrace of about 90%. So this is why I want to point this out, because this is a real possibility, or it's a highly likely possibility that this is going to happen to a lot of modern cards that people hold high in their collection. They're so valuable now. They're going up. People feel really good. They're going to keep going for whatever reason they're giving themselves that these things are going to keep going. Again, we have to come back to reality. We have to look at the facts, figures, logic that I'm giving you now as to why that can't happen forever, and why these things are going to come, back down, in a big way, some less than others, which I'll point out next. So, next card, for those of you who weren't around Sun and Moon, again, the hobby wasn't in a speculative phase. Sun and Moon wasn't selling too well, even though the last 4 sets are some of the best sets in Pokemon history, in my opinion. So I want to focus on Cosmic Eclipse, the Full Art Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia GX. Very nice card. Low population, $13.95 in a PSA 10, as we can see here. Very different scenario, okay? So we still had the COVID run-up, okay? No one really looked at Sun and Moon, as something investable, because there just wasn't much around. There wasn't much getting open. But anyway, moral of the story is, if you bought this on the COVID run-up, it's a lot safer, because it was a very underestimated error. So not a lot of people were looking. There wasn't a lot of eyes on Sun and Moon. Even though, if you did go back and look at the cards, they were absolutely gorgeous. The arts are amazing. People are realizing that today. But again, it did retrace. We had the retrace from 800 to 300, 400, let's say. So again, still retrace, not as bad. Then we come back up, okay, to around the same levels very, very quickly. 2023, we had this period as well, very, boring period, where a very good time to accumulate would have been. And then we have bang, run up, making a new all-time high. We have a small retrace, and then bang, in the right conditions, this card reached $2,200 in the PSA 10. So anyone that bought through any of this time, again, way safer investment, way safer for your collection, and now you can, be very, very happy that it's gone up. But again, I want to reiterate, these gains aren't real until you sell the card. So this is very hard for collectors, because they get attached to these cards. So if you do have money to buy more than one copy, is a good strategy to be able to sell one or two and still keep one for your collection. I like to concentrate on people who run businesses and are big investors in the space. That's my forte, and that's what I love to help people with. So that's the lens I look at. But again, retrace now, but it doesn't really matter. Even though they're 1,600 now, if you bought down here, you're still doing very, very well. But again, very, very real possibility that, when the crash comes, that this thing ends up back down here. So we want to take action and sell into strength, which is what I want to point out. Again, last card I'm going to go over. Full Art Latias Latios, very popular card, doing insane numbers now. Again, important metric, 2,100 cards in circulation in PSA 10. Again, very low in comparison to other stuff, and you see the same results. So anywhere here, cheapest ships back here. Anyone that bought it, $80, very well done. Huge, huge returns. But again, we had, around COVID times peak, around $2,000. Retrace, lost about 60% of its value. Made a new all-time high very early in 2023. Retrace, back to accumulation, bang, new all-time high. Again, retrace, and then new all-time high, just shy of $10,000 USD, and holding well. So that's just very important things to follow. Anyone can do this, follow along with these cards. Again, I do have a Discord community where I teach a lot of this stuff. I've made 2 free courses. If you're a member, it's only $30 AED a month for very invaluable information. It's exactly the same framework I've shared to build a 7-figure business in trading cards, and also how I've been a successful 7-figure investor in trading cards. So all the frameworks there, very, very cheap. If you can't invest $30 in yourself a month, well, I don't know what else to tell you. You need to invest that money in yourself if you want wealth. If you're not prepared to do that, it's a very small investment. Well, the chances are that you're most likely not going to be wealthy. So that's just the hard truth. If you don't want to invest in yourself, you're never going to unlock, this sort of stuff where I help you all. I'll walk you through it. We hold 2 Q&As every single month. You can ask me any question. I help you through whatever business investment stuff that you're going through. And yeah, all the courses are there for free once you remember. We do offer a product. We're in the industry, so we can do that sort of stuff. Again, good little community there. Just my little pet project right now, and I love helping people and sharing the information that I do. So if that's something that interests you, check it out in the description below. So before I end this video, I'm going to go over this chart again. So what I want to reiterate now, again, this video is about taking action into strength. So sell into strength, accumulate in recovery. This is what I teach people. So this boring phase here is when you want to buy, after correction here. So again, this is where I messed up here. So here I capitulated, I sold my stuff, I cracked it, spat the dummy, was over it, didn't want to collect anymore. During this phase, I bought more. I still did okay. You can say I probably broke even by the time I sold some stuff, but I was holding on to a lot thinking that I was going to go higher, which is what we're facing now. And I held too long, so I didn't take advantage. I didn't sell into strength. In turn, I had to round trip a lot of stuff, in particular a lot of vintage, which I now sold here for the simple reason that I know what's coming, okay? So I was able to get out of it by holding it for another 4 years. Again, I don't want to be in that position again. So this cycle, I've made sure that I accumulated as much as I could here. And, I went as far as selling my house, all my car collection that I had. I used to sell cars and had a big HSV collection. Anyone in Australia knows what they are. I had about 9 odd cars. Ended up just selling everything because I seen the opportunity. I started learning about cycles. I started learning about, business and all this stuff on a larger scale, particularly in the trading card industry. And I just put all that information and knowledge that I learned and put it into practice. And I went all in. And it really paid off, and this is what I want to share with everyone. I want to try and share the experience. I want to keep people accountable. I want to make sure that everyone's got the right information, equipped to make their own decisions and not rely on people telling you what to do on the internet. But yeah, just to finish off this video, we're in the most speculative phase called the winner's curse. So we're around that thrill euphoria stage is what I believe right now. So everyone's just uber bullish. I see the cracks forming, and we will get sort of a peak and a drop off, so correction. But then we get this sort of bounce where we call it a dead cat bounce. It's usually at the 50% level of the peak and the low. So it goes up here, giving people hope that the market's not done yet. This is where a lot of people mess up. Again, I'm serious when I say 95% of people will fail. So this gives you false hope that we're going to recover, and then we have the crash. So this is what I believe is coming, 2026, late 2027. And when I say that, I say it's across all speculative assets. Assets like Pokémon can peak a lot quicker, a lot sooner. And this can happen a lot sooner than, like, let's say, the stock market. So that's why I want to get this information out there now. Again, do this for yourself. Start looking at this stuff for yourself. This has been invaluable to me, and it's made me extremely successful at what I've done in the industry. And if people are a business or investing in the industry or in the hobby and struggle to do these things where, selling into strength or, thinking things are going to go higher and then missing this once in a lifetime opportunity, I believe, because after this, I don't think we're going to get an opportunity like this for a very, very long time, if ever, in our lifetime. So I hope you learned something. I hope you do look at the Discord. We do have a free section to give you a bit of a taste. That'll give you access to our monthly newsletter, which allows me to share my thoughts to people without having a financial commitment. But if you do want to take your investing or business journey in the hobby more seriously, consider joining the All Access for $30 AUD a month, which is a small price to pay for the value you get. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.